Hello and welcome to day 47 in the Not Alone Today Chronological Bible Reading Plan with Joseph and Anu. Today we are continuing from chapter 22 verse 2 all the way to chapter 25 in the last verse of 25, which is verse 18. We're still in the New American Standard Bible for this week. Numbers 22 verse 2 to 25 verse 18.
Chapter 22 verse 2. Now Balak the son of Zippor saw all that the Israel had done to the Amorites. So Moab was in great fear because of the people, for they were numerous. And Moab was in dread of the sons of Israel. Moab said to the elders of Midian, "Now this horde will eat up all that is around us, as the ox eats up the grass of the field." And Balak the son of Zippor was king of Moab at the time. So he sent messengers to Balaam the son of Beor at Pethor, which is near the Euphrates river in the land of the sons of his people, to call for him, saying, "Behold, a people came out of Egypt. Behold, they have covered the surface of the land, and they are living opposite me. Now therefore, please come, curse these people for me, since they are too mighty for me. Perhaps I'll be able to defeat them and drive them out of the land. For I know that he whom you bless is blessed, and he whom you curse is cursed."
So the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian left with the fees for divination in their hands, and they came to Balaam and repeated Balak's words to him. And he said to them, "Spend the night here, and I will bring word back to you, just as the Lord may speak to me." And the leaders of Moab stayed with Balaam. Then God came to Balaam and said, "Who are these men with you?" Balaam said to God, "Balak the son of Zippor, king of Moab, sent word to me. Behold, there is a people who came out of Egypt, and they cover the surface of the land. Now come, curse them for me. Perhaps I will be able to fight against them and drive them out." But God said to Balaam, "Do not go with them. You shall not curse the people, for they are blessed." So Balaam got up in the morning and said to Balak's representatives, "Go back to your land, for the Lord has refused to let me go with you." And the representatives from Moab got up and went to Balak and said, "Balaam refused to come with us."
Then Balak sent representatives once again, more numerous and more distinguished than the previous. They came to Balaam and said to him, "This is what Balak the son of Zippor says. I beg you, let nothing keep you from coming to me, for I will indeed honor you richly, and I will do whatever you tell me. Please come then, curse these people for me." But Balaam replied to the servants of Balak, "Even if Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not do anything, either small or great, contrary to the command of the Lord my God. Now, please, you also stay here tonight, and I will find out what else the Lord will say to me." And God came to Balaam at night and said to him, "If the men have come to call you, rise and go with them, but you shall do only the thing that I tell you."
So Balaam arose in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the leaders of Moab.
But God was angry that he was going, and the angel of the Lord took a stand in the road as an adversary against him. Now he was riding on his donkey, and his two servants were with him. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with his sword drawn in his hand, the donkey turned off from the road and went into the field. And Balaam struck the donkey to guide her back onto the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path of the vineyards, with a stone wall on this side and on that side. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she pressed herself against the wall and pressed Balaam's foot against the wall, so he struck her again. Then the angel of the Lord went farther and stood in a narrow place where there was no way to turn to the right or to the left. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she lay down under Balaam. So Balaam was angry and struck the donkey with his staff. Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and she said to Balaam, "What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times?" And Balaam said to the donkey, "It is because you have made a mockery of me. If only there had been a sword in my hand, for I would have killed you by now." But the donkey said to Balaam, "Am I not your donkey on which you have ridden all your life to this day? Have I ever been in the habit of doing such a thing to you?" And he said, "No."
Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, And he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed all the way to the ground. Then the angel of the Lord said to him, Why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? Behold, I have come out as an adversary, because your way was reckless and contrary to me. But the donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If she had not turned away from me, I certainly would have killed you just now and let her live. So Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I did not know that you were standing in the way against me. Now then, if it is displeasing to you, I will turn back. But the angel of the Lord said to Balaam, Go with the men, but you shall speak only the word that I tell you. So Balaam went along with the representatives of Balak.
When Balak heard that Balaam was coming, he went out to meet him at the city of Moab, which is on the Arnon border, at the extreme end of the border. Then Balak said to Balaam, Did I not urgently send word to you to call for you? Why did you not come to me? Am I really unable to honor you? So Balaam said to Balak, Behold, I have come to you now. Am I really able to speak anything? The word that God puts in my mouth, that only shall I speak. And Balaam went with Balak, and they came to Kiriath Huzoth. Balak sacrificed oxen and sheep, and sent some to Balaam and the leaders who were with him.
Then it came about in the morning that Balak took Balaam and brought him up to the high places of Baal, and he saw from there a portion of the people.
Then Balaam said to Balak, Build 7 altars for me here, and prepare 7 bulls and 7 rams for me here. Balak did just as Balaam had spoken, and Balak and Balaam offered up a bull and a ram on each altar. And Balaam said to Balak, Stand beside your burnt offering, and I will go. Perhaps the Lord will come to meet me, and whatever he shows me, I will tell you. So he went to a bare hill.
Now God met with Balaam, and he said to him, I have set up the 7 altars, and I have offered up a bull and a ram on each altar. Then the Lord put a word in Balaam's mouth, and said, Return to Balak, and this is what you shall speak. So he returned to him, and behold, he was standing beside his burnt offering, he and all the leaders of Moab. And he took up his discourse and said, From Aram Balak has brought me, Moab's king from the mountains of the east, saying, Come, declare Jacob cursed for me, and come, curse Israel. How am I to put a curse on him upon whom God has not put a curse? How am I to curse him whom the Lord has not cursed? For I see him from the top of the rocks, and I look at him from the hills. Behold, a people that lives in isolation, and does not consider itself to be among the nations, who has counted the dust of Jacob, or the number of the 4th part of Israel. May I die the death of the upright, and may my hand be like his.
Then Balak said to Balaam, What have you done to me? I took you to put a curse on my enemies, but behold, you have actually blessed them. He replied, Must I not be careful to speak what the Lord puts in my mouth?
Then Balak said to him, Please come with me to another place from where you may see them, although you will only see the extreme end of them and will not see all of them, and put a curse on them for me from there. So he took him to the field of Zophim, to the top of Pisgah, and he built 7 altars and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Then he said to Balak, Stand here beside your burnt offering, while I myself meet the Lord over there. Then the Lord met Balaam and put a word in his mouth, and said, Return to Balak, and this is what you shall speak. So he came to him, and behold, he was standing beside his burnt offering and the leaders of Moab with him. And Balak said to him, What has the Lord spoken? Then he took up his discourse and said, Arise, Balak, and hear. Listen to me, son of Zippor. God is not a man that he would lie, nor a son of man that he would change his mind. Has he said, and will he not do it? Or has he spoken, and will he not make it good? Behold, I have received a command to bless. When he has blessed, I cannot revoke it. He has not looked at misfortune in Jacob, nor has he seen trouble in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the joyful shout of a king is among them. God brings them out of Egypt. He is for them like the horns of the wild ox, for there is no magic curse against Jacob, nor is there any divination against Israel. At the proper time it shall be said to Jacob and to Israel, what God has done. Behold, a people rises like a lioness, and like a lion it raises itself. It will not lie down until it devours the prey and drinks the blood of those slain.
Then Balak said to Balaam, "Do not curse them at all, nor bless them at all." But Balaam said to Balak, "Did I not tell you, whatever the Lord speaks, I must do?"
Then Balak said to Balaam, "Please come, I will take you to another place. Perhaps it will be agreeable with God that you curse them for me from there." So Balak took Balaam to the top of Peor, which overlooks the desert. And Balaam said to Balak, "Build 7 altars for me here and prepare 7 bulls and 7 rams for me here." Balak did just as Balaam had said, and offered up a bull and a ram on each altar.
Chapter 24. When Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he did not go as at other times to seek omens. Rather, he turned his attention toward the wilderness. And Balaam raised his eyes and saw Israel camping tribe by tribe, and the Spirit of God came upon him. Then he took up his discourse and said, "The declaration of Balaam the son of Beor, and the declaration of the man whose eye is opened, the declaration of him who hears the words of God, who sees the vision of the Almighty, falling down yet having his eyes uncovered. How pleasant are your tents, Jacob, your dwelling places, Israel, like valleys that stretch out, like gardens beside a river, like aloes planted by the Lord, like cedars beside the waters. Water will flow from his buckets, and his seed will be by many waters, and his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. God brings him out of Egypt. He is for him like the horns of the wild ox. He will devour the nations who are his adversaries, and will crush their bones and smash them with his arrows. He crouches, he lies down like a lion, and like a lioness, who dares to rouse him? Blessed is everyone who blesses you, and cursed is everyone who curses you."
Then Balak's anger burned against Balaam, and he struck his hands together. And Balak said to Balaam, "I called you to curse my enemies, but behold, you have persisted in blessing them these 3 times. So flee to your place now. I said, I will honor you greatly, but behold, the Lord has held you back from honor." And Balaam said to Balak, "Did I not in fact tell your messengers whom you had sent to me, saying, if Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not do anything contrary to the command of the Lord, either good or bad, of my own accord? What the Lord speaks, I will speak. So now behold, I am going to my people. Come, and I will advise you of what these people would do to your people in the days to come."
Then he took up his discourse and said, "The declaration of Balaam the son of Beor, and the declaration of the man whose eye is opened, the declaration of him who hears the words of God, and who knows the knowledge of the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty, falling down yet having his eyes uncovered. I see him, but not now. I look at him, but not near. A star shall appear from Jacob, a scepter shall rise from Israel, and smash the forehead of Moab, and overcome all the sons of Sheth, and Edom shall be his possession. Seir, its enemies, will also be a possession. While Israel performs valiantly, one from Jacob shall rule, and will eliminate the survivors from the city."
And he looked at Amalek, and took up his discourse and said, "Amalek was the first of the nations, but his end shall be destruction."
And he looked at the Kenites, and took up his discourse and said, "Your dwelling place is enduring, and your nest is set in the cliff. Nevertheless, Cain will suffer devastation. How long would Ashur keep you captive?"
Then he took up his discourse and said, "Oh, who can live unless God has ordained it? But ships shall come from the coast of Kittim, and they shall oppress Ashur and oppress Eber, so they will also come to destruction." Then Balaam arose, and he departed and returned to his place, and Balak also went on his way.
Chapter 25. When Israel remained at Shittim, the people began to commit infidelity with the daughters of Moab. For they invited the people to the sacrifice of their gods, and the people ate and bowed down to their gods. So Israel became followers of Baal of Peor, and the Lord was angry with Israel. And the Lord said to Moses, Take all the leaders of the people and execute them in broad daylight before the Lord, so that the fierce anger of the Lord may turn away from Israel. So Moses said to the judges of Israel, each of you kill his men who have become followers of Baal of Peor.
Then behold, one of the sons of Israel came and brought to his relatives a Midianite woman, in the sight of Moses and in the sight of the whole congregation of the sons of Israel, while they were weeping at the entrance of the tent of meeting. When Phinehas the son of Eleazar the son of Aaron the priest saw it, he rose up from the midst of the congregation and took a spear in his hand. And he went after the man of Israel into the inner room of the tent, and pierced both of them, the man of Israel and the woman, through the abdomen. So the plague on the sons of Israel was brought to a halt. But those who died from the plague were 24,000 in number.
Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, has averted my wrath from the sons of Israel, in that he was jealous with my jealousy among them, so that I did not destroy the sons of Israel in my jealousy. Therefore say, behold, I am giving him my covenant of peace, and it shall be for him and his descendants after him, a covenant of a permanent priesthood, because he was jealous for his God and made atonement for the sons of Israel.
Now the name of the dead man of Israel who was killed with the Midianite woman was Zimri the son of Salu, a leader of a father's household among the Simeonites. And the name of the Midianite woman who was killed was Cosbi, the daughter of Zor, who was head of the people of a father's household in Midian.
Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, be hostile to the Midianites and attack them, for they have been hostile to you with their tricks, with which they have deceived you in the matter of Peor and in the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of the leader of Midian, their sister who was killed on the day of the plague because of Peor. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
So just a summary of what we've read. In chapter 22, we saw how that Balak sent for Balaam, and Balaam was reluctant until God told him to go. And then God was angry at him for going. And then there was a story of when the angel appeared to Balaam, and his donkey saw the angel first, before Balaam saw the angel. And then chapter 23 talked about the prophecies of Balaam, how that he would only speak what God has told him to, and he cannot curse the people God has blessed. And then chapter 24, we saw the prophecy that he had from Peor, where again he could only bless the Israelites and could not curse them. And then he went further to tell Balak what will happen to him and his people in the future. And then chapter 25, we read how that the Israelites now began to commit infidelities with the daughters of Moab. And now that Phinehas, the son of the high priest Eleazar, saw a man bringing a Midianite woman before the entrance of the tent of meeting, and he took action against them. And because of this, God established his covenant of peace with his household forever. And then at the end of this chapter, God spoke to Moses, telling the Israelites to be hostile to the Midianites as they have tricked them. So what stood out to you in chapter 22?
Of course, to start with, Balaam was not, he's not Jewish or anything. He's just a diviner. It's a common kind of figure in those days in the ancient Near East, where if you want to fight a people and you think your military strength is not enough, you can hire a prophet to pronounce curses on them. But in this case, he still acknowledged the fact that there is a God. I mean, each time he's referring to the Lord, it's L-O-R-D in capital, which is Yahweh, the covenant-keeping God of the Israelites. So he's admitting the fact that there is a God that he needs to, if I need to curse these people, then he needs to be cursed by their God. And so it's only whatever that God says to me that I will do. But the interesting thing to me is actually the back and forth between, okay, I will not go, and then, okay, let me ask God again. And I see that play out sometimes in even in our interactions with the Holy Spirit, when we know that he has given us a clear instruction about something, but because we so desired that thing, I think there is a part of Balak that desired the gifts and wants to actually go and do this assignment for whatever reason. I mean, the spirit of Balak will be referenced in the book of Revelation, and that's another story that we can touch on. But yeah, if God has clearly said no, why do you need to keep going back to God to say, please God, are you really, really, really saying no? Are you really, really
maybe
saying
God
no?
may change his mind.
Maybe he might change his mind. And then, of course, if you keep doing that, it gets to a point where you start hearing what you want to hear. And so eventually it seems like God was saying, okay, go. But even in going, there was still an angel on the road that accosted him and was ready to kill him. Which means the go that he thought he heard from God was not actually clearly a go in that sense. It's pretty much what he wanted to hear at that point. But thankfully, he stuck with saying only what God has permitted him to say and not manipulate the speech for what he was instructed to do. Yeah.
Yes. What stood out to me in that chapter is how that God can speak through anybody and anything.
That's right.
A donkey, anything. And sometimes I've heard people say this, that a person who is not in their situation cannot hear from God about their situation. Say, for example, that they will feel like someone who does not have a job cannot advise them on them seeking for a job. Advice as in spiritual advice.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is wherever God is leading you to is irrespective of the person's qualification or experience. It is God who's using them to speak to you.
That's right.
So it is the God in them that you are respectful to, not them themselves. And I think most of us will lose out on what God is saying to us because we think the person talking to us is unqualified.
Indeed.
But it's not in our place to look for the qualification of the speaker, but to look for what God is instructing us to do through them. And it also leads us with our leaders as well, our spiritual leaders, our pastors. It's not about who they are, but about the God who's speaking through them. If we hold on to God's word that is coming from them, we're able to then focus on his instructions and not get ourselves muddled up with the person that is speaking, so to say.
Interesting.
Then chapter 23, what stood out to you?
Yeah, in chapter 23 is the content of the blessings, actually. I find the words really good. Not just good, like loaded. Both the first time and then the second time. And then, of course, again, there's something going on here as well. The whole idea of them changing location and say, let's do it again from here. Maybe something else will come. Let's do it again from there. It shows, again, the distinguishing factor between the God of Israel, the God of the Bible, and the gods that these various nations around them worship in those days. And we see this again even at play in many worldviews across the world, in African traditional religion, where you are able to manipulate your gods or goddesses in different ways. If you sacrifice like this, maybe they can then do this. If you sacrifice from this other place, maybe you can then... God is not moved by any of those things. God is God. He's unchanging. His counsel is his counsel. His will is his will. And he stands by his word forever. So yeah, those are the things that stood out to me there.
And now just thinking about the encounter Balaam had in chapter 22, as opposed to the encounter Paul had in Acts 9. And now that when the angel appeared to Paul, there was a repentance. But for in Balaam's own sake, even after the angel had said to him, like, why are you disobeying God, so to say, instead of Balaam to then say, sorry, I'll turn back, he then said something like, if you are angry, if it is displeasing to you, I will return. Despite the fact that the angel just told him that his way is reckless and contrary. He didn't even use that to say, I'm sorry, I will go back. But he was very cunning in his sense, in putting it to the ear to say, if it's displeasing to you, I will turn back. But then the angel of the Lord said to him, you can go. I think sometimes God gives us what we desire, even though he knows that it won't be beneficial to us. And he waits for us to make the right decision. Yeah, just stop at that.
Oh, yeah. Interesting parallel between that experience and Paul's, indeed. Yeah. In chapter 24, the prophecies continue. That was the third time that, they took another location. And then, of course, what kept coming up again and again is blessings upon blessings upon blessings. And that's reassuring to us, not just to the Israelites. You can read this. Of course, now we know that we are part of the commonwealth of Israel. We are part of God's chosen people. And what is true of Israel here is true of us today, in that what God has said about us, it doesn't matter who, I mean, as all this drama is going on, the Israelites themselves probably had no clue that, some people are trying to curse them somewhere, and God kept standing up for them, pronouncing or commanding blessings, in fact, upon them. That's us. That God continues to be for us, not against us, in spite of our inadequacies, in spite of our not yet fully matching up. But He continues to walk upon us, and while He's doing that, He has fully accepted us as His own, and He continues to defend us. So that's very reassuring. And eventually, of course, the chapter ended with pronouncing judgments on even all the other surrounding nations, on Amalek, on Canaanite, on Ashur, to show that all of you at the end of the day will be possessed by these people of God, because God has given you to them as a possession. Indeed.
It's also very subtle what Balaam did in his discourse in chapter 24. How that before the narration was, he cannot change what God has said, that he cannot curse the person that God has told him to bless. But then in 24 verse 9, he introduced a very subtle change in that he said, blessed is everyone who blesses you, and cursed is everyone who curses you. But earlier he said nobody can curse them because God has not cursed them. So I think now, in a sense, it's trying, that's how it reads to me, it's trying to weave it so that Balak can see that if it comes to be that someone can curse the Israelites, then the person will be cursed. But what God has said specifically to him is that you cannot curse these people.
Yeah.
So I found that a bit of okay.
I thought that was even like a deep against Balak himself, to let him know that this is actually a judgment on you. If you choose the side of blessing these people, you will be blessed. If you choose the side of cursing them, you in fact will be cursed. And of course, that's what then goes on to happen, because then he begins to speak, okay, let me tell you what's going to happen to you and to your future generations and to the nations around you. And he began to pronounce what is pretty much curses upon them rather than blessing in that sense. Yeah. And finally, in 25, all of a sudden we then move into a story where, in fact, the Israelites began to sleep with the daughters of Moab. And in some sense, what Balak was trying to accomplish was beginning to be accomplished, because now we see the judgment of God come against his own people. And there was a plague and 24,000 people died. This thing that happened in chapter 25 was also because of Balaam. When this whole cursing thing did not work out, he eventually gave them an advice. We are going to read that in chapter 31 when we get there. That, okay, the only way you can get these people is send your girls into their camp. Let them begin to mess around with the men of Israel. Naturally, their God is so righteous and so holy, he will come against them for such a thing. And that's exactly what happened. And so, yes, Balaam did not curse, but he gave a tactic that really worked, so much so that 24,000 people died because of that. But yeah, the case of the man that was super bold to bring a woman, a Midianite woman, when every other person was still crying to God for repentance. It says in the Message translation, verse 6-9, just then, while everyone was weeping in penitence at the entrance of the tent of meeting, an Israelite man, flaunting his behavior in front of Moses and the whole assembly, paraded the Midianite woman into his family tent. Then Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw what he was doing, grabbed the spear, followed them into the tent, and with one thrust, he drove the spear through the two of them, the man of Israel and the woman, right through their midsections. That stopped the plague from continuing among the people of Israel. But 24,000 had already died. So it's quite a sobering story indeed. And we see people still do this in different ways today. Like the picture that comes to mind most significantly is when people that are supposed to stand for God, like priests, pastors, church leaders, stand and say things that are literally untrue for the sake of manipulating God's people or extorting them or I mean, again and again, we see in the news headlines of ministers that fall for all sorts of reasons and all. Yeah, it's only when those things come to light that you can then imagine that, oh, so this person or that person has done such and such and still come to the presence of God's people and ministered like everything is okay. Yeah, sometimes you wonder, is it that God has gone softer? But indeed, the justice of God remains sure. Indeed, yeah.
And I like how that Phineas was given a covenant of peace for all his generation. When I read that, I just feel like, wow, I covet this goal. I don't know how I can be jealous for you, but I do want the covenant of peace throughout my generation. It will be such a relief. I do have it actually. Not that I want it. I have a covenant of peace with him.
Jesus said, my peace I give to you. On a practical application level as well, it just tells us when you stand for righteousness, part of the rewards is peace. Bible says there is no peace for the wicked. That the wicked runs even when nobody's chasing them. But just because they've done things that they shouldn't do, there is no peace. But when you stand for righteousness, yes, things might not be looking, you might not get the kind of results you want on the immediate, but before God, you have a clean record and you can enjoy the peace of God that surpasses all human understanding. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for joining us for day 47. We continue to make our way through as we turn the page to chapter 26 on day 48. But till then, just remember,
you're not alone
today. God bless you.